Hey everybody, welcome back to another epic episode of Screen Weens, the greatest podcast you'll ever know and you'll never see.
Yes.
We're having a special quarantine episode, which will be the next episodes for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
I'm laying in bed, been watching Bleach all night.
Oh, nice.
And I'm very tired, but I'm here to talk about Steve McQueen. And of course, I'm joined by my epic, sexy co-host, Thomas Griffin.
Hello. That's me.
Oh, it's so weird not being able to see your face, you know? It's like, how do I know you're not flipping me off right now?
How did you know what I was doing? What?
See?
Weird.
The secret cameras I have hidden in your room.
Oh, okay. I see.
From the one time I went to your house, or the 2 times, or whatever.
Yeah, I think you came to my new house, right? You never came. Did you visit my old house before I moved? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Where did we record the Avengers Infinity War video?
I think that's the current house I live in, so.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think I knew you when you lived in your old house then.
Yeah, I think that was I think we moved shortly before you had showed up.
And I rolled into town.
Oh,
like
yes.
a cowboy. Alright, so obviously today we're going to be doing another director deep dive. This is number 5, I believe. We've already done Bergman, Kurosawa, Varda,
yeah,
and Dong. Li Ching Dong.
Yes.
But today we're going to be doing Steve McQueen, the director, not the actor, of course. We were able to track down 2 of his short films. Did you watch those?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's done a bunch, but they're pretty much all like in museums or in exhibits, and I couldn't physically walk anywhere to see them, obviously.
Yeah. But
have you been doing anything else this week?
I watched the first 30 something episodes of Bleach or whatever it is.
Nice.
Basically up until the point on the bridge with Rukia and her adopted brother, whatever the fuck his name is, I can't remember.
The one where Ichigo gets fucking wrecked?
The cat lady comes and knocks him out and then hops around.
Ah, yes. Cat lady.
Yeah, that was around the point that I stopped watching. I watched a little bit past into the new stuff, but I wasn't really paying attention, so I'll have to rewatch it. But yeah, this pretty much been my week. That, work, sleep. Yeah.
And I've been stuck at home, so I've been watching a lot of movies. Pretty much everyone that's been stuck at home, especially in Hawaii, and Joe, my roommate, we've all been watching movies, 1 or 2 a night. We have a little quarantine party going on every night where we just watch a movie together.
Oh, very nice.
And there's been some gems, you know. But you know what? The last movie I watched was. Have you heard of the film Ginger Snaps?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. Isn't it a werewolf movie or something?
It's a werewolf movie, and it's also about the girl, she's getting her period, and it's look at the parallels between the transformation of a girl becoming a woman and a person becoming a werewolf, and it's yes, I get where you're going from, but it was awful.
Yeah,
it's it's pretty acclaimed. It has good review. It's critically, it's pretty well reviewed, and user base on most sites is pretty well reviewed.
I don't know why it would be well, I haven't seen it, so I can't say it, but I've seen clips and images from it. I can't see why it would be critically acclaimed. Because it just seems kind of like that early 2000s
I don't mean like critically
schlock.
acclaimed, but I mean like at least like the general consensus from critics is that it's pretty good. And I just thought it was awful.
Like I've said in the past, like horror movies, whenever like they're like polarizing, it's like I never trust it because it's like half the people who watch horror just kind of watch whatever and deem it good.
But Pierre has been picking a lot of anime movies for his picks.
I saw that you watched Char's Counterattack. Don't say a single
I watched Char's Counterattack.
fucking word about it. I'm not.
So the only thing I will say is I have a very like small knowledge of Gundam. Honestly, most of my Gundam knowledge comes from the Dynasty Warriors Gundam video games, which like do tell the story. I just haven't played it in a couple years. And I've seen a couple episodes here or there. So I watched Char's Counterattack and I was ready to be completely lost. But I got, because like the only thing I knew about Char's Counterattack was that you kind of need to be a big fan of the show. Like you need to have a working knowledge of
there's
it.
like 3 core like just main series that take place before the movie. Because there's a bunch of side stuff.
I thought it was great without any previous, like without a lot of previous knowledge.
Yeah, I've thought about picking the 6 like origin movies and the 3 like compilation films for the original series before, but
the good news is I watched the first origin film last night.
Those are good. I like those.
I loved the first origin film. It was fucking great. I really like Gundam so far.
Yeah, no, it's fucking great stuff. It takes kind of like a weird turn in the next episode, but you get past it and there's more good stuff. I've heard the
second one is like the weakest of the 6. Not that it's necessarily bad, just that it's like the weakest.
Yeah, it's got this one kind of like plot thing that's like, oh really, you're doing this, but it's good like overall.
Okay. Have you heard of the film The Color of Pomegranates?
No, I have not.
It's by a guy named Sergei Parajanov, I think is how you pronounce it. He also did a movie called Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors, which I know is on your watch list. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, or if you're just kind of added it to your watch list because people like it.
It seems like it would probably be one that I just added to my watch list.
Fair enough. But Color of Pomegranates is this like... it's like this avant-garde Georgian film from 1969. That's like telling the life of this Armenian poet and musician, but like super abstractly. It was amazing. It was great. Pierre hated it.
Of course you did.
I finally watched the Steven Spielberg film Catch Me If You Can, which I've been meaning to watch for a while. And that was fun.
Who's in that?
Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks.
Oh, okay.
And Leo's like a con man. He pretends he's like a pilot. And he pretends he's a doctor. And Tom Hanks is like this guy that handles like bank fraud and check fraud. And he's like, I'm gonna come after you.
I've heard the title, but I haven't heard the synopsis at all. Huh.
It was good. It was a fun time. Tom Hanks is very bizarre in the role. He's like, at one point he goes, you want to hear a joke? He's like, okay, knock, knock. And they're like, who's there? And he's like, go fuck yourself.
Oh, great punchline.
And it's nice hearing Tom Hanks say those words.
Yeah.
And then I finally showed a bunch of my friends The Lawnmower Man, which is a movie nobody likes except me.
Oh.
But they did too. It's because it's goofy. That movie's goofy and weird and amazing. And Pierce Brosnan's like in it. And he's like shirtless all the time, monologuing. It makes no fucking sense. But it's great. I love that movie.
Yeah, I know it's got like a big cult following.
Yeah, I started it. Just kidding. Oh. The game's also pretty good. It's weird and it's very hard, but I like the game. And then me and Hinatea watched Sherlock Jr., the Buster Keaton film.
Oh.
Because I've been trying to watch some more Buster Keaton stuff.
I haven't seen that one.
That one's really good. Really, really good. The opening, I from my experience with Buster Keaton so far, it seems like there's a big issue in the films with the setup. Like, the setups may be funny, but they take too long.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Sherlock Jr., but once it gets going, it never stops, and all the stuff is, like, hilarious once it gets going.
Yeah.
Nothing is beating that 1 week, though, yet. That's my jam. That was my jam. But yeah, those were mostly the things I watched. And then, of course, Bleach. I've watched about 15 episodes while I've been playing Dynasty Warriors. And I watched the 3rd episode of Beastars finally. I'm probably going to try to finish the series, but I just hate it. I just think it's god-awful.
Huh.
But it's like, once I start something, I feel the need to finish it. And it's only one season. Like, if it was like 100 episodes, I'd be like, okay, I don't care. But because I'm already like, well, I'm already a fourth of the way there. I'm like, well, now I have to finish it.
But you're going to watch this one season, and then once it gets another season, you're going to go, well, I saw the first season. You're going to have to pick it back up.
Probably. No, if I finish a season and it's like done there, and then they release a season like later on, I'll be like, no, I finished it then. That was my cutoff.
Okay. Is the 4th season of Stranger Things out? Did you ever watch that? Is that a thing yet?
No, 4th season just got its like teaser like a month ago or a couple weeks ago. Season 3, we talked about season 3 on the podcast, I believe. I said it fucking sucked. And season 4 looks like it will be even worse.
Yeah, I really liked season 1. I liked a couple things from season 2, but overall I thought it was
enjoyed season 2 overall. I definitely don't think it's as strong as season 1, but I enjoyed it at least. But no, I thought season 3 was awful.
Yeah, I didn't watch season 3, and I probably won't watch season 4. But
yeah, I mean, I probably will, just because
I might check it out like one day, but that'll be like probably like long after they like actually end it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions?
Okay. No questions today. Pierre forgot. Oh, god damn it, Pierre. I should just wake him up. It's 7 a.m. Hawaii time. I'll just go, Just
you
kidding.
Could try.
No, but let's just really dive into it. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. Not like a ton, not comparatively to like Lee Chang Dong when we were doing 6, but we got to talk about Mr. Steve McQueen.
Yes.
So, you might know him from The Great Escape, The Magnificent Seven,
The Blob,
Towering Inferno. Haha, just kidding. That's the wrong one.
Wow, I bet that's the first time anyone's ever made that joke.
Oh. Just kidding. Steve McQueen. Oh, do you want to take the bio? You know anything about him? Or you want me to do a little brief thing?
I read like the first half of his Wikipedia page. And I've got it pulled up. So
that's all you need.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so he was born in London.
That's my name.
That is. He grew up in Hanwell. And he had a hard time in high school. He was dyslexic and had an eye patch because of a lazy eye. The head of the school admitted that there was institutional racism going on at the time, and he was put in this like special class for people were believed to be best suited for manual labor. So yeah.
That sounds fucking racist.
Yeah. So he's just this, like, eye patch wearing kid in this manual labor class growing up. So that probably sucked. But he was a good football player. He turned out for the St. George's Colts football team. He went to a bunch of, like, colleges for a bunch of different things. And yeah, he started making short films and films.
Yep. Most of it he did. Like, he's not... He's just about 50 now, I believe, right? Yeah, he's 50. And it's interesting that he's, like... He just kind of broke into the feature films, 12 years ago? And before that, he was just, like, making short films, put in museums and shit.
Yeah, because he's been making, like, short films since, like, 93 with Bear.
Yeah.
His first major film.
I looked so hard to try to find Bear.
Did you?
Yeah, I was looking, like, off and on for, like, 4 days to find stuff.
Oh, shit. Well, kudos on finding 5 Easy Pieces and Western Deep.
Western Deep, yeah. So we'll talk about those in a bit, but it's just... Yeah, so he's doing his short films and doing that, and then suddenly he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna go make out with Michael Fassbender and put him in, like, every movie except Widows.
Yeah. He was probably busy making
so sad
the last X-Men movie at that point.
He was in Assassin's Creed. Yeah, he was in...
Was he in Assassin's
X-Men
Creed?
Apocalypse. Yeah, he plays the main character in Assassin's Creed.
Oh, fuck.
Michael Fassbender is one of those guys, it's like, he is a really good actor, and he's just in a lot of shit.
Yeah? That might give me a reason to watch the Assassin's Creed movie.
I've been meaning to watch it.
I've only played a little bit of the Origin game that takes place in Greece.
Oh, I've played I've beaten the first 2, maybe 3. I can't remember. But yeah, so he ended up making Hunger, which is about the Irish hunger strike, and then he made fucking Shame, which is about being addicted to sex.
Yeah.
And then he made fucking
12 Years a Slave.
12 Years a Slave.
And then he made Widows.
Yep. And then the big thing about 12 Years a Slave is that one Best Picture, if I remember correctly.
It's the only film of his that he didn't have a writing credit for, which that becomes a subject topic when talking later on the film. Because it's
that also was he was the first black filmmaker to win a
Best
Oscar
Picture
for Best Picture because of that.
Yeah,
which is pretty neat. Third feature-length film is like, here's an Oscar. That's pretty lit.
I don't know what it was going up against, but I'd say it was probably deserving. Probably. I'd have to see what it was up against, but I fucking think it's a great fucking movie, so.
Let's see. I have not seen any of these other ones. It was fucking... Oh, I've seen Les Mis! Les Mis! Les Mis! Les Mis is garbage. Like, I like Les Mis, but it's not good. It's just not. Oh, wait, hold on. No, I'm looking at the wrong year. If I put in 2013 Best Picture nominees, it shows me fucking... Oh, it went against Her, which is a good movie. Have you still not seen Her?
I still have not seen Her.
Okay. It went against Gravity by Alfonso Cuarón, which I have not seen, but I've heard is very good. Captain Phillips, which should not win an Oscar. The Wolf of Wall Street, Nebraska, Philomena. Philomena. I don't know what that is. Apparently it's pretty good. So, yeah, it deserved to win.
Yeah.
First pretty good, but not as good.
Yeah, and Wolf of Wall Street's pretty good, but not as good. I'd say.
I like Wolf of Wall Street a lot, but I don't know if I would ever give it an award.
No. Well, it could get an award, just not Best Picture. They can give Jonah Hill an award for his teeth in the movie.
Best teeth in the game.
Ooh, that Anthony Fantano's out there getting salty. Alright. Let's see.
So, I mean, yeah, and then he's still alive. Like, most of his work was just, like, stuff that we can't really see, so we can't really talk about it. And then he made his movies, and now he's just... What is he working on now?
There's a mini-series that's... let me pull up the IMDb for that.
Small Axe, right?
Yeah, Small Axes or something like that. It focuses on... I think Western Indian relations in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. That might not even be a thing, but let me see. Small Axe. It's going to be a 6-episode mini-series based on real-life experiences of London's West Indian community and is set between 1969 and 1982. Yes.
Do we know who's he's producing it for? Like, is it BBC or
let me
Netflix
see.
or...
I'm scrolling down. Production company BBC Turbine Studios.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, cool. I'm excited for that, especially after seeing the movies, because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Mr. McQueen.
I'm a fan of
Good
miniseries.
All right, let's talk about some of the short films real quick. So the first one we watched, well, in chronological order, was Five Easy Pieces. Not to be confused with the Jack Nicholson film, which is a good movie.
It is. I like that movie quite a bit.
This one is a 7-minute experimental short where there's, like, I think 5 different types of scenes, but the main one that it gives the most time to is a tightrope walker walking across a tightrope, and the camera is usually under her feet.
Yes.
There's also a guy who pisses on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Well, technically he pisses into a puddle that the camera is pointing at, but it looks like he's pissing on the camera. That was epic.
Yeah. McQueen has stated that he finds tightrope walkers to be the perfect image of a combination of vulnerability and strength.
Yeah, I feel that. I get that. I understand what he was trying to convey with that.
Yes.
Because the way that he was, like, pointing the camera, like, from the underneath was... I don't know. It's something, like, about tightrope walkers make me super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just, like, the way they put their... Especially the way she put her foot down. I'm just like... Because it doesn't look like it would be the most steady place. But it is. And I'm just like, I'd fall off immediately and die.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that, this is kind of off subject, but did you ever watch that, fucking Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie?
The Batman movie? The Muppet movie?
No. Fuck, what was it called? It was based on, like, the real, like, I think it was a French guy. The Walk. Yeah.
That was it called, I think. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, I watched it with Hinatea before it was even on Letterboxd. Like, it was probably 2016.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters when it came out. I went and I paid expensive IMAX tickets for it. So,
did you enjoy it? Are you a fan?
I thought that the IMAX was kind of underwhelming, if I'm being TBH.
It doesn't feel. I meant mostly the movie. It doesn't feel like a movie that I'd want to see in IMAX.
Oh, well, I thought they would have some spectacle with the perspective of the tightrope walking. I was
no, I get you.
They really didn't have much from what I recall. I thought the movie was okay. I mean, I thought the story was charming enough to watch and enjoy at the time, but probably not the most sophisticated piece of cinema ever made,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I liked it. It was entertaining, but it's also by Robert Zemeckis, so it's not you're gonna get super high art from that. It's just a fun movie. Most of his movies I enjoy are just these are fun movies. And that's it. Which is fine.
Yeah.
With Steve McQueen's art installation thing, he was obviously going for something more high art, which, I do like the part where the guy pisses. That was pretty epic. It reminds me of Shame.
Yeah.
Do you think, jumping ahead, do you think Shame's autobiographical in any sense? Maybe just a teensy bit? Because it seems to me that Steve McQueen may be a little obsessed with the physical form, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not hopefully literally autobiographical, but maybe kind of emotionally
Inspired,
and mentally. Yeah. I could probably see. Hopefully he didn't do some of the things that the character in the movie did. But
yeah. Your hard drive's full of bull.
I don't even know what half this stuff is. God damn.
Yeah, but I'm not really going to give a rating to the short films, because I feel like I probably will, but I think I need to sit on them more, just because, it's interesting, because I need to think of it in the perspective of, being at an art museum, I guess, because I would want... It's something that I want to talk to people about, while I'm watching it. And also, the thing that we watched was silent, right? At least this one. And I'm not sure if the original installation was silent or not.
Yeah, the version I watched was silent. And so was most of the next one.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's... I liked both, I guess, because I like these types of things. I like movies, I like art. I have appreciation for them.
Yeah.
Plus, there was a guy that pulled out his penis.
I thought... I don't know. I didn't really care much for either of the two shorts. I thought that, the last little chunk of, what was that one called?
Western Deep.
Western Deep, yeah. I thought that one was kind of interesting and brought more context, but it felt like I was just sitting in the dark for the first 2/3 of it for the most part, aside from tiny
Western
glimpses.
Western Deep is more bulky. It's 24 minutes, and it's it takes place in this mine. I can't remember where, but it's where these workers work. It's a mine that's open 24/7 and employs 5,000 workers. And it's literally just the day-to-day activities of it, and it opens up with I want to say like 3.5 minutes of like just
Sing Granada.
pretty much complete darkness. With like every once in a while like a flash of light as they pass something like a light or a window or something, and they're just going down into the mine, which is from my research I think they said it's like 3 kilometers below.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
they go all the way down, and then they're just working in this cramped, isolated space in the dark for long periods of time.
Yeah. I've got the, like... There's, like, a comment on the link that you sent me.
Oh, cool. Say it.
That, like, explains... I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But, let's see... Western Deep was filmed in the deepest gold mines in the world. The Tautona mines and the Witwatersrand Reef near Johannesburg in South Africa. Sorry for the pronunciation on half this shit. 3.5 kilometers underground, the mine represents the deepest anyone has been into the core of the earth. Working at such deep levels has serious and potentially dangerous consequences for the miners. The temperature can read 70 degrees Celsius. Yada yada. Okay, I'm just kind of like reading here. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting, and it's interesting that like it's all like predominantly like black workers, and that they're like forced to do these like militaristic exercises on top of like the mining labor down in like the world's hottest conditions. Probably, I don't know.
I do think. Yeah, no, they're extremely hot conditions. They're forced to listen to this really loud blaring alarm that just goes on over and over again. It's like really grating.
Yeah.
I do think that the film manages to evoke the despair of the workers pretty well. I think that the themes and messages of the film work, and they're conveyed well, at least in my viewing of it. I just think that it would have worked better if it was framed in more of a like a documentary in a more traditional sense, because a lot of these things, like the heat never really comes across. You know, there are things that the fact that it's 24/7, that would affect my outlook on this. Mm-hmm. It's never really said. So I think that like using a more traditional storytelling outlook with this in particular would convey the emotions he wanted to convey better. But I still liked it. I just thought it was a little too long as well.
Yeah, like I said, I liked that last little chunk of it, but like that first 2/3 was just like, I had no idea. I'm just like staring at a black fucking screen that's silent aside from the occasional alarm that'll like just jump out.
Yeah. And, trying to make some jump scares.
Yeah.
Surprised he hasn't made a horror movie yet. Wait, he made Shame. Wait, he made 12 Years a Slave. Wait, he made Hunger. Those are all kind of horror movies.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah. So those are the movies. If you want to take a look at the short films, I'm going to put the link in the description. So go ahead and give it a go if you want. I think they're worth a watch, but I think most things are worth a watch, so.
Yeah.
Alright. Without further adu, let's jump into one of our first 4 movies, which we will be beginning with Hunger 2008.
Yes. This is an interesting film. So, Steve McQueen, when he was like younger, he said that like he saw footage of Bobby Sands on the news, like with like the number of days he had been on strike, like over his head, and it just kind of like stuck with him. So he obviously wanted this to be his like feature film.
And I thought it was a good choice.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting story that I wasn't super familiar with the Troubles. I heard the name
either.
before. Well, what did you say?
I wasn't either.
Yeah, I had heard the name, but only really in like passing. I wasn't really sure what the Troubles was. All I had heard was the Troubles, and it was related to Ireland. I thought it was like a punk band.
I knew of like Bloody Sunday, which is like tied to the Troubles.
Yeah. So the film takes place all in a prison. Do we know what the prison's name was?
It's like The Maze, isn't it? Something like that.
The Maze, something like that. So Michael Fassbender, who's the main character, doesn't really even show up until like 35 minutes into this movie.
I guess that's not halfway. It just felt like halfway.
So instead, they look at this first part of like because the big part of the movie is the hunger strike that he goes on. That's why it's called Hunger. It's based on the 1981 hunger strike.
Yeah.
But before that, they were doing a bunch of other things, like for instance, shitting on the walls.
Yeah. So
we start with two characters doing that.
Yeah. What was really going on politically at the time was they didn't have political prisoner status, which is what they wanted.
So at the very original point, I believe they did, and then they were stripped of it.
Yeah, they had it in 1972, but in 1976 it was taken away. So they started going on strikes, and there was like strikes in 1980 that didn't really like lead to much, other than like giving it some attention. So that leads to like the context of this, where Bobby Sands decided to
do it again.
Yeah, do it again, but harder.
Yeah, so these first two characters, I can't remember their names, if they had names.
Let's see. There's prisoner.
One of them arrives. What?
There's prison officer Raymond Lohan.
Raymond, yeah.
Yeah,
everybody
Raymond.
loves Raymond.
And then Davy Gillen is the name of the IRA prisoner who like just shows up at the beginning. And Gary Campbell is the name of his roommate, who has been like smearing his shit on the walls.
Yeah. So Davey walks in. He's like, "I'm not gonna wear prisoners' clothes." That's what an Irish person sounds like. He's like, "I'm not gonna wear prisoners' clothes. I want to wear civilians' clothes." And then they make him wear prisoners' clothes, and then they beat him over the head.
Yeah.
Like, they like, push him, and then suddenly he's walking, and he has, like, a giant gash on his head, and it's like, ow.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks into his room, and there's just shit covering the walls. And when I first saw it, I'm like, maybe that's not shit. And maybe that's just what the walls look like. Because I was like walking into this movie completely blind. Yeah. So I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
I was pretty certain it was shit, but I had that like shred of doubt as well until obviously we see.
I was just like, maybe it's just really dirty. But yeah, then we see his roommate at various points shitting on his hand, or literally just like shitting his pants, and he like digs down into his pants and starts smearing it on the walls.
Yep. Pretty gross.
And yeah, it was pretty epic. And they do various things like that. They're shitting on the walls. Occasionally they're being beaten up by the guards. And then at some point they have friends or family visit them, and they sneak stuff in.
Yeah, there's a scene where Gary's girlfriend sneaks a radio in and delivers it to him.
Shoves it up his ass.
Yeah.
To hide it. It's a free pocket. It's God's pocket. That's what they say. I don't know who they are, but somebody says it.
I'm sure there are people who say that.
God gave you a pocket, son. Use it.
Yeah.
So they get a radio, but eventually it's just kind of they still want this prisoner status, and eventually they're like, okay, we're gonna give you civilian clothes at the very least, and they're like, finally we're gonna be able to wear our own clothes, and instead they give them what's pretty much like clown costumes. Like, it's just like super vibrant colors that don't match, and they all like stand out super like a ton, and they're just like, this is not what we said.
And they're also like forced to like shave their heads and beards, which they were growing out in protest.
Yeah. And that scene. This is when Michael Fassbender's introduced, I think.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
because
that's his introduction
he's not in any scenes beforehand, or was he in one of the scenes when he's when they're being visited?
He wasn't that I noticed. This was the first scene where I was like, oh, that's Michael Fassbender. So
but this scene was like pretty brutal to watch.
Yeah,
like the forced shaving and stuff, because you just see like his hair being torn out. He's like bleeding from his head in multiple spaces, and so like, wait.
Yeah, they're like smacking his head against like the back of the tub and shit like that.
Yeah, he like eventually he like literally gets knocked out because they smack his head too hard, or he breathes in too much water. And then it's like, hey, look, it's Michael Fassbender. He's here.
Yeah.
And then from this point on, the movie shifts over to his perspective.
Yep.
And yeah, he's just kind of living life. He's sad. His parents come and visit him. They talk about how he has a child. And then, but it's at this point, it's mostly just like the same stuff going on. It's just like the guards are mean, are assholes.
Yeah, they'll like clean their like cells and replace the beds and stuff and do shit like that.
And then one day he gets a priest to visit him, who he knew from childhood or something like that.
Something like that. Let me see if it says here. Sands meets Father Dominic Morgan and discusses morality of a hunger strike. Yeah, it doesn't say here.
But or maybe he just knew him from when he was not a prisoner. But they're on pretty good terms. Like, they're obviously like friendly. They're friends. And then a 17-minute long take happens where they discuss the morality of going on a hunger strike. And that's that shit I love.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love long takes. So apparently the actor who played the priest, he like moved into Michael Fassbender's house for a brief period of time so they could they could work on the scene more. And they were practicing like 15 times a day.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, could you imagine? That's like 4 hours a day on one scene. And it's not just that, because like right after that long take, it seems like there's another like 5-minute long take with Michael Fassbender just talking.
Yeah. No,
and I was just like, more.
Pretty good stuff. Quite liked it.
Yeah, but they talk about the morality, but at the end of it, there's some pretty good discussion. Like, not just like the essence of the long take. I think it's a really good scene in general. Like, I probably would have liked the scene a lot even if it wasn't a long take.
Yeah, and it's not like a moving long take. It's all like one stationary shot, but it's all like the conversation is what really draws you in about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like you're watching Baby Driver, the opening scene is like, whoa, look at him go, woo, woo, woo. It's just kind of like, wow. It's really amazing, the execution of their dialogue, really, in this the one go kind of thing.
Yeah.
But eventually they're just like, we're not going to agree. And he's like, I'm going to go through with the hunger strike. He's like, we failed last time because everyone started at once. So we're going to have each person start
like 2 weeks apart or something like that.
2 weeks apart, yeah.
And he's like, first, and
the priest's like, so you're just ready to die? And he's like, yep. He's pretty much just like, yep. And he knows very well that he'll probably die going on this hunger strike. But that's what happens. The rest of the movie is literally him going on a hunger strike and slowly dying.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Fuck. His body.
Did you mention, the, man he killed when he was a kid? Because that gets brought up in the conversation as well. And
no, you can do that.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so he talks about like how he used to like play track, or used to like run track when he was younger, and he used to love running, and he had like a group of friends, and one time they found like this I don't remember like what affiliation the guy had, but they found someone in the river. Oh, wait, no. Wait, what is that? Oh, it's a horse. That makes much more sense. Oh. I thought it was like a term for somebody. But, so they found like a horse in like a stream that had cut itself on the rocks and had a broken back. And, like a priest saw him and the group of boys there, and they were all like gonna get in trouble or whatever because they were gonna like get the blame for it. So Bobby like went and drowned it. And yeah, he kind of like described it as like bearing the like price for the other boys, like a real martyr act that kind of like sets him up for this hunger strike.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But yeah, after he does that, the priest is like, I'm not going to see you again. And he's like, that's okay. I'm going to die. He pretty much is like, that's okay, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And then the scenes that follow are him at first just being really skinny and like being unable to really focus, and eventually he gets moved to like a hospital bed.
He goes deaf.
They give him a ton of nicer food, but he's just like, no, I'm not doing it. And he starts to have visions of himself as a boy at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just his younger self is just kind of staring at him all the time.
Yeah, I originally thought that was supposed to be his like son, but then I realized through like the later scenes where it shows like him like kind of spacing off to when he's a kid, I was like, oh, it's him. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'd only figured that was him because I had when I first like found out what this movie was about, like during it, because I went to like go shit, so I paused it while I was doing that. I saw a picture of what Bobby Sands looked like, and he had like long hair, kind of like that kid. So I'm like, oh, that's probably him.
Mm. Yeah.
So I only figured that because of that. But so yeah, he just slowly starts withering away to the point where like he gets like giant lesions or like sores all over his back. Oh my god, they did a great job on these like practical stuff.
Yeah,
it looked fucking gross. It looked nasty as hell. I was trying to eat chicken pot pie, and I was not having that. I'm like, well, I guess I'll wait like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And it's Jesus. Like, even before the prosthetics, Michael Fassbender was, like, obviously doing that to himself. I looked it up, and he was, like, on a diet for months of, like, 900 calories a day.
Oh, man.
And he's like, yeah, couldn't really sleep. I was sad a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I bet. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So like when that first section when he doesn't really have any sores or anything, that was just Michael Fassbender. That's just what he looked like at that point. I'm like, dude, don't do that. You're gonna hurt yourself. But yeah, eventually he dies, and then the movie ends pretty much.
Yeah, and we find out. So they had like their 5 core demands, and that's what like they wanted. And obviously their like first demand was granted back with the first hunger strike and the civilian, wearing civilian clothing. But they were basically, Margaret Thatcher like refused to budge during this. Like Bobby Sands died, and she was just like, whatever. He did it to himself, and then like the following men died, and she continued just being like, they're just committing suicide, whatever, not the government's problem. But eventually it got to the point where like people's families were like interjecting, like, oh no, you can like hook them up and save them. So they like ended on October 3rd, and the prisoners at that prison were like basically given all of the 5 demands, but they weren't given the political status to accompany it.
Yeah, so like they got it, they got some of the things, but it's sad because they never got all of them. And Bobby Sands died after, 66 days?
Something like that.
And I was like, could you imagine not eating for 66 days?
Yeah, 66 days. There was Bobby Sands, 66 days. There's Francis Hughes, 59 days. He was 25 when he died. Bobby Sands is 27. Raymond McCreish, 61 days. Died at 24. Patsy O'Hara, 61 days. Died at 23. Joe McDonnell, 61 days. Seems like 61 days is the average that you will live if you try to go on a hunger strike. Died at 29.
Maybe we should try.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Martin Herson, 46 days. 24 when he died. Kevin Lynch, 71 days, 25. Kieran, 73
David
days,
Lynch,
25.
is that what you just said?
Kevin Lynch. Kevin.
Oh.
Thomas McElwee, 62 days. He was 23. And Michael Devine, 60 days, 27.
So the real takeaway from this movie is that Margaret Thatcher was a horrible person and deserved to die. And Michael Fassbender's really good at acting.
Yes.
You know who Steve McQueen reminds me of in his directing style?
Who?
Lee Chang-dong.
Really?
Maybe not in his directing style per se, but just in like the subject matter he wants to do. He's just like, I want to make my viewers sad.
Yeah, I feel like Steve McQueen does a lot more like kind of like politically charged dramas compared to Lee Chang-dong for the most part.
Yeah, especially mostly with Hunger and 12 Years a Slave, but surprisingly with Widows as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting it to be so politically charged, but it was. Which I was a fan of. That's one thing I was saying with Widows. It was surprising how much it felt like a Steve McQueen film.
Yeah. Felt like him kind of like trying his best to make like a kind of like mainstream crime thriller kind of movie.
Yeah. So what did you think of Hunger?
I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good. I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. It wasn't perfect, but I really, really liked it. So I'm going to give it a 9.
I thought it was a little slow at points. There were shots where I'm like, yeah, I get it. We don't need to, like, take this long. Like, the scene of the dude, like, fucking cleaning up all, like, the piss in the hallway. I thought that went on way too fucking long.
I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but I liked that scene. And I don't know why I liked it so much. There was just something about it that I'm just like, I see, yes. Maybe it's because the sound it made was really irritating. And I'm just like, I get it. It's a form of torture to get back at the prisoners. I was also watching this at like 3 a.m., so I was probably just like really tired and being like, I get it when I didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
You know, it happens a lot.
Potentially.
Because I watch too many things at 3 a.m. Alright, so 8.5 average. Pretty great. Pretty great. Let's go on to Shame.
Yes.
Starring, Michael Fassbender.
Again. Back at it. With the McQueen.
Back at it again. Alright, so Michael Fassbender plays this guy, Brandon. He's a New York exec, whatever that means. He works for a company. I don't really understand what he does, but it's not really important. He's just... He has a job, he's good at it. His boss is like, wow, you're so great, Brandon. And...
Yep.
Brandon is addicted to sex. He, like, masturbates vigorously many times a day, no matter where he is, and he has sex with prostitutes, like, all the time. And he also watches porn on his work computer, which is, just great.
I knew somebody who was like this, but I'm not gonna say on the podcast, obviously, because that would be kind of fucked up. But...
I know who it is.
Do you? Have I told you before?
Lucero!
No, it's not him.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a little intense. Like, it'd be one thing if his work computer was a laptop, because I get it. I'd go, okay, that's his computer. He takes it home. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's literally a desktop. So that means he's sitting right across from someone who can clearly see him, and he's just watching porn.
Yeah.
The movie opens with him, like, on a subway, and he's, like, making eye contact with this woman, and she's wearing an engagement ring, and they are, like, kind of flirting with each other, like, just with their eyes and kind of looks, but then she, like, suddenly becomes uncomfortable because he's just doing it, like, too long. And she leaves, and he, like, tries to go after her to be like, hey, you want to fuck? But she, like, disappears into the crowd. So then he goes to work, and he jerks off in the bathroom.
Of course. What else was he supposed to do?
Yeah.
Work?
Then Brandon and his boss, David, who is married, which is an important thing because he's an asshole, they go to a club. They hit on women. David is really bad at hitting on women, and Brandon is very good at it.
Yes.
To the point where the person that Brandon was trying to hook up with goes and picks up David.
Yeah.
And is like, do you want to fuck?
Yeah, so they do it like in some sort of like back alley kind of area.
Yeah, it literally looks like...
it's not like a back. It's some like kind of weird place. Like they like do it on
like
a concrete
underside
slab.
of like a bridge, like the slope on the underside of a bridge.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, good for you." Meanwhile, while this thing has been happening, every time it shows him at home, he seems to be getting a ton of calls from this girl. We don't really know anything about her yet. She's just like, "Brandon, pick up."
It's me.
Pick up.
Yeah.
But it's revealed because she shows up out of the blue and is like showering in his apartment, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he like pulls out a baseball bat. He's like, "I'll kill you." And she's like, "Whoa, it's me." And he's like, "Ah!" It's his sister.
Yes.
Who's she's kind of a vagabond of sorts. She's kind of wandering around, at least right now.
Yeah.
She has a boyfriend, but like the night she gets there, she like it sounds like they break up, but nothing's also because nothing really is ever said about it again after that.
Yeah.
So she's gonna stay a couple days or sometime with Brandon, and she has some gigs in the city because she is a singer.
Yes. But she is increasingly testing his patience immediately because obviously she just kind of shows up. She leaves a mess everywhere. She drinks the orange juice from the carton.
Yeah, which like I get like if it's your orange juice and you live alone, I get it. Sure, do whatever you want. But that's not yours. That's nasty.
Yeah. I think that there's like a side for each of them. Like, I don't think either of them are right, but they both have like cases and they're like fair points where you could side with them in this given situation, if you know what I mean.
Anyway, he's like, "Fine, you can stay here." And she's like, "Listen, I have a gig tonight. Can you come?" And he's like, "Fine, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And he goes to work, and his computer's gone at this point. He's like, "What the fuck?" And they're like, "Oh, it had a bunch of viruses or some shit." And he talks to his boss, and his boss is like, "Let's do it again tonight." He's like, "Yeah, my sister's playing at a club. Let's go." They do that. They do this. Wait, no, at first. There's a scene in which Brandon and his sister are waiting for the subway, and she's like super close to the track, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I too was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because why would you ever be that close?
Yeah. Not where you want to be.
They do go to the bar where she's performing, and she sings like this really melancholy version of New York, New York. And Brandon starts like crying. Then David flirts with her and somehow wins her over.
Yes.
So they all go back to Brandon's place, and she has sex with Brandon's boss in Brandon's room. And Brandon is just like, "What the fuck?" So he goes running.
Yeah. And then he gets back, cleans the sheets, and goes to bed. And in the middle of the night, she tries to like crawl into bed with him, but then he yells at her, and she's
like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And she like immediately leaves.
Because he told her quietly to leave a couple times, but she just stayed there.
He's like, get out. And he's like, "Get out." And he's like, "Get the fuck out." He sounds like a fucking demon.
Yeah.
He tries to go on a date with a girl named Marianne. She seems very nice, but she's like, "I just got out of a long-term relationship," and she's like, I want to be committed to someone. And he's like, "I don't like the idea of commitment." And he's like, "The longest relationship I've ever been in was 4 months."
And she's like, "You gotta try." And he's like, "I did."
For 4 months.
Yeah. So.
And they go home pretty much. And then that night, he's jerking off in the bathroom, and his sister walks in. And then he attacks her while wearing nothing but a towel. And I swear to God, I thought they were going to fuck at this point. there was like, I'm just like, don't do it! There was so many like, really, not necessarily because I thought they were necessarily attracted to each other, but just because of how much of a sex addict Brandon was.
Yeah, I definitely think that has some of the reason of why he's so mean to her throughout the course of the movie. Aside from her,
he's like, I find my sister hot.
Yeah, well, it's clear that he doesn't like view women as anything other than a sex object. It's kind of just how he perceives them all. Like he's staring down his co-workers, like his female co-workers, and that leads to some pretty interesting scenes. Which, isn't that who he goes on the date with? His co-worker? Or was that someone else?
Yeah.
That was someone else, or that was his co-worker? Because I thought it was his co-worker.
After he attacks her, she's like, I'm sorry, and then she opens his laptop, and like there's like a webcam site on with like a lady already there. She's like, Are you Brandon's girlfriend? I know what Brandon likes. And Brandon walks over and shuts the laptop, and then literally he throws away everything. He's like, I'm done. He tries to like quit cold turkey. He's like, I'm done. He throws away his porn and his sex toys and his laptop. He just throws away his laptop. Yeah. And then he like kisses his coworker that he went on the date with, and they go and get a hotel room, and then Brandon can't get an erection. So then he like freaks out, and she leaves because of it, because he's like, yeah, just go. And then he hires a prostitute instead to have aggressive sex with.
Yeah. And then him and his sister get into another fight.
And he storms out.
Yeah, he basically tells her to move out by time he gets back and leaves.
Yeah. And then he goes on this crazy fucking journey where at first he goes to a bar and he's like coming onto a woman where he's like, this is what I do to you, while her boyfriend comes up, and then he starts laughing, and he's just like, I was just telling her how I'd fuck her better than you can. Yeah, and then he forces him to sniff his fingers, which were just in his girlfriend's pants, and doesn't take very well to it. He walks out, and then the boyfriend comes out and beats the shit out of him. Yeah. And then he's not let into another club. So then he goes to a gay bar and fucking gets a blowjob from a guy. He's just like, yeah, I just want sex. Yep. And then he gets a couple more prostitutes and he sleeps with them, and then his sister leaves him a voicemail, and she's basically like, we're not bad people, we just come from a bad place. And then he like gets this voicemail, and he like gets on the subway. You know, he's kind of like heading back home from his wild night, and he notices like they stop and the doors don't open. There was like something that happened on the subway. Like, yeah, it's implied that like, you know, somebody like jumped onto the tracks pretty much. Yep. And this gets him thinking about his sister. Presumably. Yeah, he's like, oh, is she okay? So she like he like runs home because she won't pick up her phone. And he finds her in the bathroom, bleeding, covered in blood. Her wrists are slashed, which it's important to note that like it did allude to the fact that she's been cutting her wrist for a long time. Yeah, his boss pointed it out, the scars on her wrist earlier, and she said she was bored. Yep. He does get her to the hospital, and she does survive. And then we get a scene of him. He walks until he just keeps walking, and then he collapses in the rain and just starts like crying.
Yeah. And then we get a shot of him on, like, the subway again, and there's that same woman from the introduction scene, and this time she's a lot more flirtatious and ready to,
And, like, at the very, like, he at the very, like, beginning of this interaction, he's, like, hesitant, but then she's about to, like, leave the train, and he, like, starts to stare at her again, and then the film cuts to black, being like, he's doomed to repeat himself, he's gonna be a sex addict forever, that kind of thing.
or
He's
maybe
stuck in
he
his
does.
loop.
He leaves it ambiguous. He could, potentially, but it does kind of
He could,
He
but
probably will not.
knowing Steve McQueen being like, no, life's shitty.
Yeah.
Life's shitty. Yeah, so, don't get addicted to sex, guys.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Have a regular amount.
Yeah. So, you addicted to sex, Thomas?
No, not particularly.
But no, I enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
I thought Mr. Fassbender was good in it again.
He does a very good job in the role.
I thought Carey Mulligan was pretty good as well. I would have liked maybe some more scenes with her. I felt like she was a little underdeveloped as a character.
I'd agree.
But overall, I enjoyed this film. I thought this film was slower than the other one. Like, slower than Hunger.
Really?
Like, this film felt longer for me. Yeah, this film... I had trouble with some of the pacing in this movie.
Huh. I would say I was, like, the opposite.
Which is funny. Yeah, no, I don't know what it was. Just some of the scenes I just thought were really slow. It's obvious that, like, Steve McQueen, he just likes slow scenes. Like, he likes slow pacing. But I don't know what it was specifically. It's just some of the scenes, they just felt really, like, stretched out to the point where they almost weren't enjoyable for me. Not all of them, but just occasionally.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I didn't really get that same thing.
Okay. So it flew by for you? Or it worked? Pacing all worked
like,
for you?
Fly by, but it felt appropriate to me. At least I thought so.
Intriguing. All right then, buddy. What'd you give the film?
I'd give it an 8. Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to give this one a 7. Look at that. So 7.5.
Yes.
For our average there. And, okay. Woo. Let's talk about,
12 years.
Talk about 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Alright. You wanna take this for now?
Sure. So, this is obviously based on a true story. It's based on the memoir 12 Years a Slave, written by Solomon Northup.
Solomon Northup.
He was a free man who got abducted and basically put into slavery for 12 years before, through just like a lucky chance, he got a letter sent out and notified his family, and that got like the gears moving to get him like back home. And yeah, it's fucked up because it's basically just first-hand accounts of slavery from someone who was
a free man.
Yeah, basically like first time through the ringer. I mean, I'm sure he probably experienced prejudice before. They even allude to it in the film because obviously the time period, it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, obviously he was a free man, but it just because people were like, I don't want you to be a slave doesn't mean they weren't fucking racist.
Yeah. But basically, so yeah, the film begins kind of in the middle of his slave journey, at least like in terms of like where it actually takes place in the film.
Yeah.
Where he's just, I think it's what, sugarcane? Is that what that is? Yeah, they're basically in like some
I believe so.
sugarcane fields. There's a white guy with a machete who's teaching them, how to cut the sugarcane, and that's what they got to do. And then it cuts to another scene where he's just kind of like he's not sleeping, but he's up late at night, and this woman kind of rapes him, she like starts having sex with him, but he's just kind of like dead fishing her and not moving, and kind of making it clear with his eyes that he's not really consenting to it. And then she kind of like gets off after
and cries.
Yeah, it's a pretty heavy scene to begin your movie with. But then we kind of flash back a few years before, 1841. He is a free man. He's living in New York, Saratoga Springs. He's a violinist. He has a wife. He has 2 kids. And 2 white men named Brown and Hamilton offer him a short-term employment as a musician in Washington, D.C. But they have a night where they go out to dinner before they travel off to Washington, D.C., where they drug him. And he wakes up, and he's in chains in this room, in this place that he doesn't recognize. He's been carried across the line into the South, and apparently he is now born in Georgia, supposedly, according to them.
Yeah, and his name's now Platt instead of fucking
Solomon.
Yep. Or instead of Northrop.
Yeah. Oh,
so
it's New Orleans where he goes. That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. So he gets shoved onto a boat, pretty much. Well, first he's hidden in like a fucking wagon.
Yeah.
And sent to a boat. And he gets on this boat. And it's just with like 2 other guys that he like had met when he was first captured, and this woman he had met when she was first captured. And they're like, we should just beat the shit out of them and take over the boat. There's a ton of us people on here. They use the N-word in this movie a lot.
Yeah, and the one dude explains that like these are like people who were kind of born and raised as slaves.
If
they
you're
don't have
born
the
into
stomachs.
slavery, you don't necessarily have the fight to like go against it because it's the only thing you know.
Yeah, you're brought up under like a lot of like propaganda and just having to live in this culture where you'll kind of take things and maybe not necessarily like believe everything that's handed down to you, but you'll just kind of like, I don't know. Fuck. I'm on it. I kind of trailed off there. I'm Joe Bidening.
You become complacent.
Yeah.
Because that's all you know and that's all your family has known. So they like just don't have the stomach for it. But during the night, one of the white men comes down to sexually assault the woman, and one of the guys, I don't remember his name, he gets up to stop the guy, and the guy turns around and stabs him and kills him.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, they fucking shove him off the boat.
Yep. And the one dude claims that he's better off than they are.
Yeah. And, maybe they're right. But they eventually get to port, and the guy who had been like, oh, we're in this, we're here together, Clemens, I think, his master, who he already, like, belongs to someone.
Yeah.
Is there and is like, you have my property! And he's like, master! And so he gets let go, and, Solomon's obviously trying. He's like, Clemens, help me! But that obviously doesn't work out. Instead, fucking Paul Giamatti shows up.
Yep.
And is like, load them on my wagon.
Yep. And he takes them to a place where they're shown off and sold.
Yeah, pretty much his own little slave auction house.
Yep. And he's sold to William Ford, who is played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yep, who is a nice slave owner, I guess.
Yeah, to an extent. Given the circumstances.
They even say,
they bring
Solomon says, given the circumstances, he's a kind man. And the rebuttal is like, given the circumstances, he's a slave owner.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how good he is of a slave owner, he's a slave owner. But, the woman he arrives with, she was bought, but her children were bought by someone else.
Paul Giamatti just straight up would not sell them together as a unit.
Yeah.
He's just like, nope, not going to happen. The daughter's worth too much money, and I'm going to sell the son over to this guy over here.
Yeah. So she gets there, and she's just crying and sobbing, and the white woman, who's Benedict Cumberbatch's wife, is like, don't worry, you'll forget your children soon. And I'm like, I'm going to fucking kill that bitch. What an awful thing to say to a person.
Yes.
Oh. But, so Solomon kind of becomes buddy-buddy with Benedict Cumberbatch, at least as much as he can, as a slave. Paul Dano is here. He's really scary. He sings a song that's very racist. About black slaves attempting to escape and dying.
It's the famous Run and Run song.
Yes, Run Nintendo Run.
Yeah.
Sega does what Nintendo don't. So he sings that song. It's well performed. He does a good job.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
It's very uncomfortable.
That's true. But yeah.
But he really doesn't like Solomon because Solomon's smart.
Yes.
Much smarter than him.
And, So, obviously, Ford takes a liking to Solomon because he's full of, good ideas. He's practical. He's efficient. He knows how to, he comes up with this whole, canal thing where he's like, oh, we can, cut your transportation by this much. And, Ford gives him, a violin in return. But, obviously, Paul Dano's character just keeps kind of, jabbing at Solomon, and it gets to a point where he's about to whip Solomon one day for following his orders down to the letter, and he's just not gonna take it, so he grabs the whip and he beats Paul Dano's
fucking
character.
Beats the shit out of him.
And there's one more thing I want to bring up on the on the Ford residence before we get to the point where that act starts wrapping up, and that's the scene with the conversation we were just talking about with do they name this woman? I can't remember. But the woman who lost her children, she cries, and there's a whole scene where he basically tells her to get the fuck over it.
Yeah, they do. What was her name?
It's not here on the Wikipedia page from what I'm seeing. But basically, and then they have that conversation discussing the where William Ford kind of scales on the shittiness meter of being a slave owner. And
that was Eliza, I think.
Or was it? And
yeah, I believe so.
And she just cries constantly, and it's starting to get on the wife's nerves. They have so obviously they sell her off, and they have a scene where she's being taken away, and she's screaming for Solomon, but obviously he can't really do anything. And this is obviously the indicator that Ford is not such a good guy. Like, he would just, oh, well, you know, your misery is a inconvenience for me, an annoyance, so I'll sell you off.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's something. He's just a dick. They're all dicks. Every white person in this movie, besides 2 of them, are dickheads.
yes.
Yeah, so he attacks Paul Dano, and Paul Dano's like, I am going to come back and murder you. And his supervisor, like the main supervisor of everything, is like, if you leave the plantation, I cannot protect you. Yeah. So Solomon stays on the plantation, but Paul Dano comes back with 2 guys, and they tie him up and they start hanging him from a tree. But then that supervisor shows up.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm going to shoot you in the head if you don't back off.
So they like leave it so his like tippy toes are barely just touching the ground, and he's like,
yeah. And the supervisor just leaves him there because he's a dick.
He's like, I'll make sure that I don't get in trouble by letting you die, but I'm not gonna like go out of my way to help you or anything.
Yeah. So, but he does go to get Mr. Cumberbatch, Ford. And Ford eventually shows up like 2 hours later. And this scene with Solomon hanging there is one of like the grossest fucking scenes, because it's just like, it shows the normalcy of this. Like, there are kids just playing in the background of the scene, and there are people just doing their jobs. No one like it's obviously the adults like are ignoring it purposely, but it seems like the kids who are born into this, they just don't care. You know, they don't like see it.
There's only one person who like comes up and helps him at all, and they just like give him water.
Yeah. But Ford eventually shows up,
cuts him down,
cuts him loose, and then he's laying inside. And he's like, listen, Paul Dano's going to come kill you. I'm guarding you, but I'm going to need to sell you to another farm. The only person I could sell you to was Michael Fassbender.
Yeah. Epps.
Who?
Edwin Epps.
Epps.
Edwin was Epps, a real person and an asshole.
Yeah. He's the worst person. He prided himself on like being able to break slaves in and stuff that were like hard to deal with, and it was just, you know, a nightmare. So, and Solomon at this point is like, listen, I'm a free man. I need you to help me. And of course, Mr. Benedict is like, no, I can't do that. I owe him money. You're a slave. Bye.
Yep.
And it's just
he has a line that's like really fucking cuts deep, where he's like, you know, I can't remember verbatim, but it's basically like, you're such a talented man, but it's such a shame because I don't think anything's gonna become of it, because he's insinuating it's like you're too wild for your own good kind of deal. And it's just like, ugh,
indeed. Ugh, indeed.
Yes.
So he shows up to Edwin Epps' house, and it's Michael Fassbender, and oof, man. Sometimes it's hard to separate the art from the artist, in the sense that it's hard to like see an actor and not be like, wow, they're such an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, like seeing Michael Fassbender after seeing this movie, like at least for like a day or two, just makes me like, that guy's evil.
He definitely does a good job at embodying the role.
Yeah. Which is funny, because I feel like in real life, from the small amount I know from, I'm sure he's like the exact opposite.
Oh no, he seems like such like a fun, kind of like free-spirited kind of guy from what I've seen.
Yeah. And the fact that he's been in 3 Steve McQueen films, it feels like, you know, this guy's probably not racist.
Probably not, I would imagine so. But yeah, he kind of shows up, and this is the scene where we're introduced to Patsy, the quote
Lupita
queen
Nyong'o.
of the fields, unquote. Because she's famous
they're
for
cotton pickers.
Yeah, and she's famous for like picking the most amount of cotton, like
double.
Yeah, she holds the record on the farm, and he's in awe of her, and he's like super attracted to her, and yikes. It makes for a very uncomfortable pretty much rest of the film. It's
yeah, like honestly, that's the scariest part about this film is like he gets to Epps' farm about 45-50 minutes in, and like then gets really bad. Like you watch the first hour of the film and it's like, this is so like depressing, and then it just gets like so much more depressing and creepy, and it's just like what
yeah,
it's just sad. Yeah, so he's trying his best, but Epps is a fucking madman. And he loves to hit black people and, do anything he can to, just make sure they know that they're in they're in service to him. And pretty much the wife too. The wife, Sarah Paulson. Man, I love Sarah Paulson, but I was so angry at her.
Yeah.
But man, what even happens next? Just a lot of sadness.
Yeah, we see scenes basically kind of just he'll like wake them up in the middle of the night and make Solomon like
time to dance.
Yeah, and his wife will like beat the shit out of Patsy or humiliate her in front of everybody, just like throw glass bottles at her face or bake stuff, but not her to have any. Is constantly demanding that Edwin sells it. Is that his name? Edwin Epps? I think so.
Edwin Epps, I believe, yes.
Constantly trying to get Edwin to sell Patsy, but he refuses, so she just keeps getting tortured. And then a cotton worm infestation happens on his farm, so he sends a group of slaves away for a few months to a different plantation.
No, he said multiple seasons, so they're gone for...
Oh, they're gone for a while then. 2 years. Or actually, well, so when they get back... Oh, I guess it would be a while, huh?
Well, yeah, and just think about the fact that when they get back, he has a daughter now.
Oh, yeah.
He had with Lupita. And she looks like she's at least 3. So they were probably gone 4 years.
Yeah.
Because remember that he was a slave for 12 years. So
it just feels so fast when it's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they're gone for that amount of time and come back to Epps, and he's just as shitty, if not worse.
Yeah, which is it's implied that there aren't very many scenes with the other guy, but it's implied that the other guy's kind of nice to Solomon again.
There's a scene where he talks about loaning Solomon out to perform at parties and allows him to personally keep whatever money he makes from it. And it's oh well,
yeah.
At least that's nice, I guess.
Yeah. For a slaver, it just in comparison to Epps.
Yes.
He wasn't a nice guy, but in comparison to Epps. But he gets back and it's worse than ever. Lupita, she has a fucking red eye from being fucking hit.
Yeah.
And, yeah. He's going crazier by the day. But he hires a white man to pick cotton.
Yes.
this guy. I can't remember his name, but the actor's also in Widows.
Yeah, he's also in Raising Hope and No Country for Old Men, and he's in some stuff.
Yeah, he's in some stuff.
Good actor. I like him. I like seeing his face whenever he pops up somewhere.
Yeah, I can't even remember his name. What the fuck was his name? What the fuck was his name?
Let me see.
Garrett Dillahunt.
Yes, that's what it was.
He's a good actor. He's kind of rude in this one, but whatever.
He's nice in the next one, though.
He is nice. He's really nice in the next one. Yeah, so he seems like an okay dude at first. He's bad at his job, but Epps is like, well, you're white, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But he has kind of a soul to soul conversation with Solomon. And Solomon's like, maybe I can trust this man. And he's like, if I pay you all the money I made from playing the violin,
will you
please send a letter to my wife in the north, or to my friends in the north? And he agrees to it, and he swears on his honor. And what do you fucking know? He immediately goes and tells Epps.
Yeah, so Epps comes and wakes up Solomon in the middle of the night and kind of asks him about it. And I love this fucking scene because Solomon basically
Solomon super quick thinking. He's like, listen, he's lying to you.
Yeah, and he starts describing. He's like, he thinks that you don't have a brain in your head. He thinks that you're just buying his shit. And I find it so funny because he's basically just talking about himself in that scene. Because Epps falls for it. And it's hilarious. Oh, man.
Yeah, and he pretty much says that if he wasn't a white man, he'd kill him right now.
Oh, yeah, that's the bitter punchline. That's the one that hurts. That's sort of the grim reminder of the reality of the situation where it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically he had been he had a piece of paper that he had been hiding in a tree out, and he had been writing it with berry juice or whatever. And
yeah, so he burns it.
Yeah, so there's no evidence.
And then life goes on.
But shortly after this is when Brad Pitt's character is introduced. And
yeah.
He just kind of is this Canadian guy who comes and is helping build on the farm. And he makes it pretty clear.
Shows up.
Huh?
Yeah, Epps shows up to be like, hey, you can take a rest if you want. You want some water? You want some whiskey? And he's just he starts just pretty much laughing at him. And he's like, what's so funny? He's like, it's just funny that, you treat me like a human, but not your workers.
He's like, these are my properties, sir. What are you talking about? Well, what's the deal? He's like, well,
what gives you the right to own them?
I bought them. He's like, well, yeah, you may have bought them, but ethically, what is your right here? And he's like, I don't need you telling me this, blah, 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 blah. I'm a fucking asshole. I'm not going to change my ways. And Brad Pitt's basically I know. I'm a
fucking asshole.
So, yeah, that happens. And then we get a scene with Patsy. She had been, missing for, an hour or so. For a little while. Yeah,
because it's on the set. So every, Sunday, they're, she's apparently allowed to go, on walks and stuff.
Yeah, she goes over and visits one of the neighboring plantations that has a slave on it who's kind of worked her way up the
she's a house slave pretty much. She's a pretty high rank. She can do whatever she wants pretty much.
Yeah. So Patsy goes and spends time with her, and she gets some soap from her because Lady Epps refuses her soap. And it's oh, great. So she comes back, and Michael Fassbender freaks out because he's been looking for her for the last hour, and he's been heartbroken. He's like, my Patsy's gone. God gave her to me, but he's taken her away. Blah, 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 blah. And then she shows up, and he's like super pissed, and then Solomon kind of steps in to cool the tension down a little bit, but of course that only gets him more fired up. And then Epps forces Solomon to whip Patsy because his wife's there, and his wife is like, "Oh, you
and
need
at
to
first he's
punish
doing
her."
it.
Huh?
Yeah, and at first he's doing it pretty lightly, like he doesn't want to hurt her, but he like needs to whip her. But then Epps pulls out a gun and is like, "I will shoot everyone here unless you whip her." So he whips her like 5 times, like really well, and then just kind of like can't anymore, like emotionally.
Yeah. So Epps takes over.
Yeah, and he just kind of wanders off, and then the next scene he's talking to Brad Pitt again, I believe.
Yep.
And he tells him his story. He's like, "Do you really believe it?"
Samuel Bass is the character's name, by the way, and I guess probably the real guy, if I had to guess.
Brad Pitt.
Yes.
I think it was actually just Brad Pitt in real life. He traveled back in time.
Well, I like how his production company produced this film, and he plays like the white savior character.
I want to be the one white guy that's a good guy. I don't want to be the bad guy. No, fair enough, Brad Pitt. I don't want to be the bad white guy either.
Yeah. So basically, he kind of like Solomon shares his life story with Bass, and then Bass agrees. He's like, I'll send your letter, friend. Don't worry. So he does, and then it's a scene of Solomon working in the fields, and a man shows up, and he's like his slave by the name of Platt here.
Up, he's like,
and Solomon steps forward, and then they ask him like, "Do you know that man over there?" And he names the man, and then he answers some like basic questions about his like past life, and then he just goes over, gives the man a hug, and Epps is like protesting the whole time, but they just kind of ignore him because he's got no legal ground in the situation. And
man, this is when I broke down again. It happened the last time I watched too. This scene, just because I don't know what it is, but like I feel like the whole movie just kind of crashes around you during this moment.
It happened for me for the first time. I had never, in any of my previous watches of the movie, cried, but I shed a tear at the part where like, they're showing him his grandkid and its name's Solomon.
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, I couldn't hold it back anymore. It was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, so he gets to go home and he sees his wife and his kids who are now all adults. His daughter married and has a son that she named after him. And then they hug and embrace, and then the film ends, and it's like he wrote a book and then he died.
He became an activist and he died, but the circumstances, date, place, location, all of that of his death are unknown, which I don't know if that's necessarily meant to be like I guess it means he has like no death certificate, I guess, or a like official one, so I guess that probably means he went missing and not died naturally. I don't know how death records were kept back then, but hopefully it wasn't too bad of a circumstance.
Hopefully. But, that movie makes me really depressed.
Yeah, no, it's a fucking heavy one. I always think it's like fucking 3.5 hours, and then I'm like surprised whenever I pop it in and I look at the runtime. I'm like, oh fuck, it's only like 2 hours and 12 minutes. What the fuck? And
it doesn't even it goes by pretty fast too. If I'm being at least the first hour.
Yeah, the first part of it goes by pretty fast.
And I think the second hour just goes by slower because it's just like, I'm so uncomfortable with every scene.
Yeah. Fun fact about this movie and its screenwriting credits. So, basically, Steve McQueen met John Ridley in 2008 at a screening of Hunger, and they both were like had always talked about making a slave era movie in America. And they kind of talked back and forth for years, and eventually they found the memoir, and they fell in love with it. So they adapted it. But there's this controversy over the screenwriting credit, because basically only John Ridley was credited, not Steve McQueen. And there's a rumor that Steve McQueen wanted his name credited, but Ridley denied it. He's no, you can't have your name credited on the film. But some say it was for... They deny it. They currently say the reason why he didn't get screenplay credit was because of the Writers Guild rules. And yeah, so that's just a fun fact.
Yeah, I can believe that. Interesting.
And they filmed it in 7 weeks.
Really?
Yes.
That's really fast.
With a production budget of $22 million. They filmed it
that's really fast.
Yeah, no, they filmed it in the New Orleans area. And they used 4 locations that were historic plantations. The one of which was closest to Solomon historically was Magnolia, which is, let me see, in Louisiana. Highway 311 west of New Orleans by about 3 miles. So, I don't know how... It was just a few miles from where Northup was held. So, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Chiwetel Ejiofor? I don't know how to pronounce his name. I apologize, but the actor who played Solomon is really, really, really good in this fucking movie.
Alright. Sorry about that little break. I just had
technical difficulties.
Cry. Yeah, no, I was just saying that the main actor in this movie is really, really fucking good.
I agree. Everyone does a really good job, especially him. And I can't pronounce her name.
Lupita Nyong'o.
Yes, she is phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah, I was looking at Patsy's Wikipedia page earlier, and there's really not a whole lot of other information that's known about her. She was apparently alive a few years after Solomon left. That was documented by somebody at some point, but yeah, nothing much is really known about her beyond the book. And it's sad, because that means she probably spent the rest of her life there.
Yeah.
Oh.
I give this movie a 10. This is one of my... This movie's fucks me up every time.
I also give it a 10. I think it's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like usually 10 movies I'm I want to watch this all the time, but then there's some 10 movies it's I cannot watch this more than once a year or I'm going to break.
Yeah, my 10 movies are a mixed variety.
Yeah. I have quite a few now in my catalog that's if I watch this movie more than a few times I'm going to break.
Yeah. There's some really emotionally potent stuff out there.
The good news is Widows is not as heartbreaking.
No, I don't think I was heartbroken at all by Widows. It didn't really strike any emotional chords with me, but I thought it was pretty fun movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, you want to take it away with Widows real quick then?
Yeah, Widows is a heist film directed by Steve McQueen. Came out in 2018.
Wait, it's directed by Steve McQueen?
I know. Surprising stuff. I thought it was directed by Steve McQueen, the actor, not the director. But that would not make any sense anyway. Yeah. So basically, there's this police standoff with this criminal gang that's run by Harry Rawlings,
Liam Neeson,
who I will probably refer to as Liam Neeson for the rest of this conversation.
For the rest of this life.
Yeah, it's just... He's Liam Neeson. Harry Rawlings, what kind of a name is that? They should have just broke the fourth wall and named him Liam Neeson in the movie.
Exactly.
But, yeah, basically, he's, like, in charge of this, like, heist where, in the getaway from the heist, the van is blown up, along with the money. Now, Harry's widow...
Viola Davis.
Yeah, Viola Davis.
Veronica.
Yeah, who is Veronica? I was looking for the character's name. I'm like, where is it on this page? Basically, she's kind of left with the bill because the guy who Harry stole from and the money that was destroyed is this guy named Jamal
Manning, who's like
yes.
he's like a crime lord of the city.
And he's running for mayor. It's mayor, right? Yeah, I think it's mayor.
I think mayor?
Yeah.
Or city councilman, something like that.
Yeah, some high form of political office. And he's running against Colin Farrell's character,
Alderman,
who is...
which is, I don't know what an alderman does, but it's some form of office.
Yeah. Yes, some form. But he's running against Jack Mulligan, who is played by Colin Farrell. He's basically like
he's like the old blood.
Yeah, like his dad was in office, and I think it goes.
His dad, no, like their
back.
whole family for decades and generations have been in.
And so he's basically like, yeah, I'm here to get my claim to fame, but obviously Jamal comes around and is more popular with the people due to a lot of the unpopular decisions that his father had made while he was in office, specifically regarding this one district that Jamal has really like taken grasp of, and yeah, it's not looking too good for Jack Mulligan. But basically Jamal threatens Veronica. He's like, look, you're gonna give me the $2 million that your husband destroyed, even if you have to sell everything here, or I'll kill you. Yeah. So what does she do? She finds all the men who died with her husband in the explosion, tracks down their wives, and plans a heist.
Well, she's driving around with her driver Bash, who is the guy who plays that dickhead white guy who rats out Solomon.
Yeah.
12 Years a Slave. His name's Bash in this movie. He's the chauffeur. He gives Veronica the key to Liam Neeson's safety deposit box, which has a little black notebook.
Yeah.
Then he gets all the wives of the husbands that died, and it's like, here's the plan. In this notebook, there's a detailed plan for the next heist. It's gonna be stealing from this thing. She doesn't really know where it is yet, and it's gonna be worth $5 million. I take the $2 million, just give it back, and then we each split it $1 million apiece.
And she basically, in order to get that like $2 million separate from like herself, she basically tells that all the other wives, she's like, yeah, I'll give them your names and throw you guys under the bus too. Because
she doesn't even say that. I think one of the other
Michelle
wives,
Rodriguez's character points
Michelle
it out.
Rodriguez. And then she doesn't say anything and just walks away, implying that is indeed correct.
Yeah, because we later find out in the film that Veronica is not rich. Not rich. Everything that she owns is not worth anything, really, and it's all rented or whatever, her apartment, and it's all fake. She just is the head of a teachers union.
She goes to somebody that I think her husband used to work with. He's at a bowling alley. He works there. He's in a wheelchair. And he advises her to just sell the notebook. Or give it to Jamal's people.
Yeah, he's that's what Liam Neeson would want you to do. And she's no.
I'm just going to do the heist.
And he's are you sure you should sell the notebook?
She gets 2 of the widows on board, but one of them doesn't show up. So she's whatever, we can do it with 2. Alice is this really tall woman. Yes. She's fucking 6'3".
Is she? No.
That's yeah.
Damn.
Her name's Elizabeth Debicki, I believe. Yeah, she's... obviously I'm half a foot taller, but... That's, that's a foot taller than you.
Yeah, no. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't need that.
Yeah, just kidding. You're not 5'3", right?
I'm
5'7".
I'm 5'6".
You're 5'6". So she's only 9 inches taller than you. That'd be
great.
Cute. You should see if you should date her.
Oh, yeah. Let's move on from this conversation.
It's me, E10. All right.
Anyway,
but she's trying to become a sugar baby. She's trying to date men for money. And it's she's doing it, but she's obviously not liking it.
Yeah.
And Linda, who's played by Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast and the Furious,
yeah,
she lost her store because her husband had been gambling away all their rent payments.
Yep.
But yeah, the 4th widow doesn't show up because later on it's revealed Veronica finds out that she has a 4-month-old son. She's I can't fucking leave my house.
Oh, I totally thought you were gonna give away the other review for a second.
No, not yet. So she gives them all different things they have to do. Alice has to go get guns in a getaway van, and Linda needs to decipher the blueprints.
Turns out should have been opposite.
Yeah.
Because
eventually Alice does get the blueprints done anyway, and figures out that it's blueprints to the safe room in is it Henry Mulligan? Or what was?
Oh, Jack Mulligan, the politician.
Mulligan.
Harry Rawlings.
Is it Harry Rawlings?
Harry Rawlings is Liam Neeson. Jack Mulligan is
Jack Mulligan. That's what. Yeah.
Okay.
Jack Mulligan. So it's blueprints to his safe room.
Yes.
So they're okay, now we know where we're stealing. Meanwhile, while this is happening, fucking Jamal's brother, who's played by fucking Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh, yeah.
He's going crazy across town. He's killing witnesses, and he goes and beats the shit out of the wheelchair man. He literally just starts stabbing him all over the place until he gives up what she's doing and that she has the notebook. And then he goes and he kills Bash, which was sad.
Yeah.
Because Bash was I'm not going to do that. I don't know what you're talking about. So then they just kill him. And that was sad, because Bash was a pretty cool character. He's not in it a whole lot, but he's just a nice guy.
Yeah, a pure soul. But,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I really liked that scene where we initially see him fucking with some like those kind of like younger guys, and he has them like rap and beatbox, and then he like just shoots them.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya's presence in this film is really good because he's like on the shorter end comparatively to them.
Yeah, like,
but he's like really menacing to them.
He kind of reminds me of like the same type of character that like Willem Dafoe plays in Grand Budapest Hotel, where it's like he'll show up every so often, and towards the end of the film he has his payoff. Yeah,
but no, it's sad as that rap flow is pretty good. Like that guy's pretty good at rapping.
Yeah, no,
right, he dies.
Pretty good.
He gets wrecked. Yeah, Kaluuya shoots him in the head, and he tells the other guy to run. Then he shoots him in the back of the head.
Yep.
But eventually, they're like, "We need a fucking driver." So they recruit.
Michelle Rodriguez's character has a babysitter.
Yeah, and they're like, "Do you want to be our driver?"
And it turns out that she's like the most badass motherfucker.
Yeah, she's like, "Don't fucking talk to me like that. I have my own gun." Yeah. And Veronica goes and she visits Amanda, which is the other widow who didn't do the job. And she brings her dog, because she brings her dog everywhere. And she puts him down. And the dog, like, immediately goes and runs to this other door when Amanda goes to check on her baby. And the dog just keeps barking and scratching at the door. This was... and she walks over and she sees a flask on the counter. Mm-hmm. And she stares at the door for, like, 20 seconds. And then picks up the dog and runs out of the apartment. And then Amanda goes over and opens the door. And Liam Neeson is sitting on the bed, alive.
Yep.
Did this twist, like, get you at all? Or were you expecting him to still be alive?
I had my suspicions. I can't remember what line it was, but there was definitely a line earlier in the movie that had kind of, like, raised my eyebrow and got me thinking about it. But I can't for the fucking life of me remember what the line was.
Okay. I kind of am always suspicious of, like, especially in heist movies, I'm like, that character's not dead. But I do think the execution of it was pretty good. Even if, like, I was expecting it. You know, twists can still be executed well in a way that's, like, entertaining. Yeah. Even if, like, you know what's coming. And I thought it was executed pretty well.
I think it would have been.
Especially the payoff of the dog barking and sniffing of things. Because earlier, when she had first gone to, like, the safe house that the husbands had, the dog went up to, like, a jacket and was barking and sniffing it.
Yeah.
So.
I almost wish they had just kind of, like, had more context behind, like, the flask and didn't have that, like, reveal after she left and saved it for, like, when she sees him later in the movie, obviously.
I get that. I feel like, honestly, and I feel like Steve McQueen is a director that probably would want something like that, but it's something like the studio execs or something were like, no, we need Liam Neeson in this more, even if it's just staring out of a window solemnly for 5 seconds.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, the job is still on plan despite her discovery, or what she thinks is a discovery. I guess she doesn't necessarily confirm it at this point, but she seems pretty sure. But, yeah, basically, they, like, have some, like, heist practice. They, like, simulate, like, how much a bag with that much money would weigh, and they, like, have, like, sprinting exercises to the van. And, yeah.
And then she, like, goes home and before the big heist, and she fucking relives the memory of her son's death. Because throughout this movie, it's been having these flashbacks of her and Liam Neeson fighting. And this is where, like, the political, like, stuff gets into it, because, like, it's revealed that their son died from a cop. Thinking that he had, like, a gun when he was just sitting there. He gets pulled over, and he, like, turns off his phone, and then he tries to, like, pick up something while the cop's there, and he just, like, shoots him in the head.
Yeah. And it's just like, damn. So. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's, like, crying about that. And then, she goes to Jack Mulligan's house to, like, ask for help. But really she's casing out the joint.
Yeah.
So she like is looking around while Belle, which is the babysitter, who's their driver, scouts out the outdoor security. And then Veronica blackmails the CEO of the security company that does, like, the security company for, like, the security for, like, most places in town.
Yeah.
That Liam Neeson had the, like, blackmail stuff for.
Played
that he
by
had used before.
The dad from Brigsby Bear.
The dad from Brigsby Bear, yep.
Who's in a lot of stuff. But
they had blackmail pictures of him, like, cheating on his wife.
With his niece.
With his...
Yeah, did you miss that part?
No, I think I just forgot about it because it was a couple movies ago. I don't know how I forgot about that, though.
Pretty disgusting, but funny.
But they get the safe code, and then they start the heist. There's, like, a cop car kind of nearby, so Belle, like, throws a bunch of fucking flares into, like, open car windows, and then, like, runs down as the police car, like, goes down to investigate. They, like, start, and they make their way inside, and they use a stun gun on the only security guard, and then they go to the safe and retrieve the money. But on their way out, fucking Jack Mulligan's dad, who also lives in the house, shows up. And, like, he opens the door. He's like, ah!
Yeah, they had...
And they're freak out because they're all bad with guns.
Yeah, so...
Because, like, if Belle was in there, she probably would have been fine. Because she obviously knows how to handle these situations, because she seems to have experience from what she was, like, saying. But these people who are, like, out of their depth, they, like, drop their guns, and then fucking Elizabeth Debicki's character
gets shot in the shoulder, whatever.
She gets shot in the shoulder, yeah. Alice. And then Linda fucking shoots him, kills him.
Yep.
But they do escape, or they think they escape. They get out into the van, and then suddenly Daniel Kaluuya's character shows up. He's, like, in the front seat, and he has a gun pointed at Belle, and then he just takes the money and leaves them all there. But then they grab a car, and they fucking ram him in the back of the, like, truck, and he, like, crashes into
a median, and dies, and they take all the money out and drive away, and then
they get Alice to the hospital.
Yep.
And then Veronica goes alone to the hideout,
and Harry shows up. Liam Neeson. He shows up, and he's like, I need the $1 million you have to keep Mulligan quiet, because it was revealed that Jack Mulligan helped Liam Neeson orchestrate his death. His fake death. And she's like, fuck you. And he's like, this whole thing is like, he couldn't save their son, and he didn't think he could save their marriage. So he's like, I needed to save myself. Like, obviously, this makes no sense. He's a bad person, but I really like the line delivery he has in this, like, weird freak out moment. He's like, I needed to save myself.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. The way it's like, veins start pulsating out of his head. It's like, whoa!
It's a classic Liam moment.
Yep. And then he fucking attacks her and throws her on the ground. He pulls out a gun to shoot her, but
she already had a gun. Yeah. She says, what does Greedo say in the new cut? What is it? Like, Plutney?
McClunky!
Yeah, she says McClunky and shoots Liam Neeson straight in between the eyes. Oh, gosh.
Then the movie ends with Jack Mulligan winning the position because of a sympathy vote because his father died. But Linda gets her store back. Alice sets up her own business, and Belle moves away. She moves away with her daughter, who was also shown.
Yeah.
There's some cool moments with Belle, but she was kind of like... and then Veronica, she's like... pretty much the last scene is... I think it's like a superintendent of a school shows up, and she's like, there's a large bag of money underneath the table. I want you to take it and go rebuild, I think, the library or something like that.
Yeah.
She's like, the only thing is I want you to name it after my son. And then she walks outside, and she had seen Alice, and this is the first time she's seen her since then, obviously. She's like, hey! And then the movie ends.
Yeah. This really dramatic, like, how have you been? And it's like...
It's nice to see you.
Yeah. I was like, oh, huh. Yeah.
Sequel bait. Just kidding.
Oh, jeez.
Widows 2, Widow Harder.
Yeah. What were your thoughts?
I liked the film a lot. Obviously, like, it's not my favorite out of any of them. I think I like it a little more than Shame, but I think that my biggest issues with it were probably, I don't think that Belle as a character really had enough. It just felt like she was kind of thrown in. Like, there were some interesting elements to her, but I would have really liked to see a little more, I guess.
I kind of felt that way about, like, all the main characters, if I'm being honest. I felt they focused a little too much specifically on Jack Mulligan. I felt like we didn't need as much of an insight into his character as they gave us.
I get that. I like how much insight we got, but I do wish, and I think that Viola Davis's character probably got enough stuff, but I do agree with Michelle Rodriguez and Elizabeth Debicki's characters. I do think I just honestly, this feels like it wanted to be like a longer movie.
Yeah.
And then it just wasn't. Like, it feels like it wants to be like a 3-hour movie with like lots of intertwining character like discussions and interactions, and they just like couldn't get the budget for it, or they couldn't greenlight a movie that was that long that was supposed to be a heist film, so they had to settle for being like just above 2 hours, which is unfortunate because the 2 hours I really did enjoy.
Yeah, like, I'd still walk away like overwhelmingly positive, but that definitely was like a gripe of mine with it.
Yeah, it's like that's why I'm excited to see what he does with this miniseries you were talking about.
Yes.
Because longer form stuff, you know. This will be his scenes from a marriage.
Yeah. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. I'd give this movie a 7, though.
Yeah, I would also give it a 7.
Yeah. So from top to bottom, my list would be 12 Years a Slave, Hunger, Widows, Shame.
Yeah. Okay. I had Widows and Hunger switched around, but aside from that,
yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Or that's not my ranking. That's what I had for your like guess, because I wrote it down earlier.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, I have no idea where the fuck I put the paper. I wrote down what I thought yours was. Well, now I know, though, because I know your scores.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Well, what was your ranking? Was it, well, let's see, 12 Years a Slave top, then... Shame? And then...
Probably Hunger, then Shame, then Widows.
Hunger, Shame, Widows, okay.
Yeah.
Hunger and Shame, I really like the idea that those are his first two films because I feel like those titles blend so well together.
Yeah. I felt
like watching them as it's like watching Hunger and Shame.
Yeah. Yeah, at the time when I watched Hunger, I enjoyed it. Like I was impressed by it, but I was definitely like lacking something, and the sense reading I've done up on like the whole Northern Ireland situation going on at that time with the Troubles and all that. I felt like really
it feels
added
like
to the film.
You need a little background knowledge of the film, or you need to like be from Ireland.
Yeah, but it was good. Good movies, all four of them.
I very much enjoyed this go. Let me I have a spreadsheet here with a little bit of statistics I want to go through real quick.
Statistics.
Did you give what did you give Hunger? An 8? You give Hunger and Shame both 8s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I did say that the next time we would do a director deep dive that I would have some information about our last couple. Actually, all our director deep dives. Just some fun little info because you know me, I love statistics.
Oh, okay.
So, on average, our highest rated director is Ingmar Bergman still, because on average we gave that, like an average film by him, is an 8.8. So pretty much an 8.9, which is very high.
Okay.
Followed by fucking Akira Kurosawa, and then Lee Chang-dong was tied with Steve McQueen, and then Agnes Varda. But all these are like, the average rating is still above an 8.
Yeah. Okay.
And the most 10s we've given out were on Ingmar Bergman, which we gave 3 out because we both gave Scenes from Marriage a 10, and then you gave fucking Shame a 10 as well. Shame
was good.
Yeah.
Both Shames are good. I can
Ingmar
confirm.
Bergman number 2 one of these days.
Yeah, no, he's got a big fucking filmography.
Man, so many good movies out there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what's really funny is your average rating for Agnes Varda movies and your average rating for Lee Chang-dong movies were exactly the same, was 7.83.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just thought that was really funny. Okay, well, that's just my little info.
Huh.
Yeah, but good day. I'm tired. I'm very tired, but I'm glad we talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Mr. Steve McQueen. I wish I had been able to see more of his short films. You know, I really wanted to see Bear. That was the main one. I looked so hard for it.
Hey, Steve, if you're listening, hit us up with a email link.
Hey, Steve. Anyway, you got classic picks next week, right?
Yeah. So, my film is a classic film from 1971. It is called Blood Shack.
Blood Shack?
Yeah. Shack.
Oh, God.
Yeah. This is the Trooper.
The what? The one by Ray Dennis Steckler?
Yep, that's the one. This is Wolfgang Schmidt.
Where am I supposed to watch this?
It's on YouTube. There's an upload of it on there, so.
On where?
YouTube.
Oh, sick. Sorry, you cut out for a sec. Cool.
Yes.
My pick will hopefully... Have you seen Blood Shack?
No, I haven't.
Why? Any particular reason why this pick?
because it's a movie about a young woman who inherits a ranch that is supposedly haunted by a murderous beast called the Chooper.
Okay, that's fair. My pick is a movie that I really, really wanted to see last year, but it didn't really come to theaters until the beginning of this year, and then, coronavirus and all that jazz. But it was considered one of the very best of last year.
Is this what
it's
I think
on
it is?
Hulu streaming now. Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh.
It's very gay.
I've been excited to see this one.
As always, thank you for watching. We hope you're doing good, being safe, stay inside. This is in the future where the world has ended. Stay inside because of the molecule beasts outside.
Don't lick any strangers' doorknobs, only your own.
Exactly. And tell your grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Grandfathers only. This is the Grandpa Podcast.
Yes, it is.
Podcast. And yeah, thank you for watching. Anything you want to say, Thomas?
Absolutely not.
All right. Toodaloo, everyone.
Adios.